Hello everyone and welcome back to Giant Fire Breathing Robot on YouTube. My name is Craig Withers and we are continuing with our look at Hearthstone today. We're still going through our starter decks, one for each of the classes. Today we are going to be looking at the Mage. Now, as I say, as with all of these starter decks, we are using only basic cards. Nothing here that you won't have access to from level 10 and over. You won't have to spend any money. You won't have to spend any dust, any arcane dust, to craft any of these cards. So, no spending, no crafting. All you have to do is get to level 10, which you can do in about an hour and a half, 2 hours if you're lucky. And given that everyone starts off playing the Mage, the chances are you'll be at level 10 with the Mage before you even know it. So yeah. So, as I say, just going to throw together a quick deck, only 30 cards. These decks, and this deck as well, they're not tournament-winning game decks. They are not going to get you to the top of the ladder. You're not going to win every single game and crush every opponent with these decks. What they will do is get you winning some games with, a decent amount of regularity. You can build up some gold, buy your way into a few arenas, get some more cards, and most importantly, get some experience. And you get a feel for how the decks work, for how the classes work, a feel for how the game in general works. So, we'll start a new deck. There we are, Mage. Okay, and name as always is Starter Mage. And that's more just a test to make sure I can spell starter than anything else. So, let's get to it. So, first creature, we have 2 Elven Archers. For spell, we have 2 Arcane Missiles. Now, I'm not going to stop and explain each of these cards as we go. I'm going to wait until we get the whole deck put together. 2 Crossbows and 2 Acidic Swamp. Nothing else. 2 Novice Engineers. There we go. Back to the spells. 2 Arcane Intellect. Back to the teachers. Oh, no, that's back here. There we go, 2 Water Elementals. Master. 2 Gnome Inventors. No Mission Inventors. And back for some Fireballs. And some Polymorphs, I love that spell. And so are we chilling Jetty. And Gudabashi Berserker, interesting card. I'll speak at length about that. I'll certainly speak about it. Where are we? 1 Archmage. And where are we? 1 Stormwind Champion. And last but most definitely not least, okay, so there we go. So 30 cards in total, as I say. Yeah. Where to start? Okay, we'll start at the start. Mana curve. You see, again, it's a bit up and down. We've got most of our strength there in the mid game, or about turn 4. Yeah. So it seems uneven, but trust me, the deck works quite well. Generally, with the Mage, mages, it's all about direct damage with the Mage. You're blasting an enemy in the face, taking out their minions, wiping things off the board. You're keeping board control by by damage. It is a control deck, but not a kind of a direct removal, the way the priest is. It's control through damage and also through the freezing mechanic, which comes up in an awful lot of their cards. You see in Frostbolt. Freeze, basically, you'll hit a card, hit a minion, or a character actually, and whether you do damage to it or not, that minion is stuck, can't move next turn. We don't really have an awful lot of freeze in here. Yeah, I think we've just got the Frostbolt and the Water Elemental. There are a few other cards. Where are we? Now we don't have, so we don't have Frost Nova. You'll see this in an awful lot, not an awful lot, but you'll see this come up quite frequently, especially in starter decks. Don't have Frost Nova fit in there. While it does have a place in a control deck, it's all you're really doing with Frost Nova is slowing things down. You're just delaying things for another turn, which is not a bad thing in and of itself, but it's a mechanic that you really have to build around. You really have to, maybe not kind of construct your deck around that, but your deck has to take account for that. It has to be weighted to take advantage of that, or account for it. Dropping it in a starter deck just for the sake of it is not really the best thing that you can do, so we don't have that in there, that's why. We also don't have Arcane Explosion. 1 damage to all enemy minions can be good, but if you're in the position where spending 2 mana to do 1 damage to a board full of enemy minions is a good thing, then you're in a bad position anyway. And Arcane Explosion, 1 damage to all of them probably isn't going to save you, so it's not in there, because although it's good on the surface, overall it doesn't really work very well. Go through it. Most of these cards speak for themselves. Acidic Swampoos, that's in just about every single thing that you've got. Elven Archer for some nice early damage. You combo Elven Archer and your Mage's own power, Fire Blast, are going to be really good for you in the early game. You really want to be bringing them out to plink away at the small minions that your enemy is bringing out. Take them off the board as soon as you can. As I said, it's all about direct damage, so don't be afraid to use your damage spells. Don't hold them back for later on, because if you keep holding them back, there won't be a later. Arcane Missiles is slightly controversial because of the randomness. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of random things on my cards, but with Arcane Missiles, that 3 damage for 1 mana just about makes it worthwhile, especially in the early game. If you can bring it out, if your enemy only has maybe has a 1/2 or a 2/2 minion on the board, you bring Arcane Missiles out. There's a very good chance you're going to take it out and do 1 damage to your enemy. If you only do 1 damage to the minion and 2 damage to the character, then you might be able to plink it away with Fire Blast. But yeah, it's just powerful enough that for me it makes the randomness worthwhile. What else? Arcane Intellect, solid cards. What else? Polymorph, great card. I love this card. I just love playing this on so many things. I don't care from playing it into people's hands or setting off a tap. I just love polymorphing massive big stompy minions and turning them into sheep. I find that hilarious every single time. It can be very tempting to use this early in the game. Don't save it till later. Keep it in your hand as long as you can. Because guaranteed you'll use this to get rid of a Shattered Sun Cleric or the Water Elemental or something, and then the next turn, a couple of turns later, you'll get a Stormwind Champion in the face, or an Ironbark Protector will land and you'll be kicking yourself. So hold on to your Polymorph. Chillwind Yeti, Gnomish Inventor, again, 2 solid cards. Gnomish Inventor is a good minion on its own, plus you get a card. Chillwind Yeti has good stats for its mana cost, plus it's at that perfect 4 strength where priest cards can't damage it, or the Shadow Word Pain and Death can't damage it. Water Elemental, again, freeze coming into play. That can be extremely useful in an awful lot of situations. Using it against rogues, druids, or warriors, and paladins as well in particular, can slow them down. It can give them a huge headache. Guribashi Berserker. I said I was going to speak about this dude as well. This, again, a lot of people don't like this because it can be, in an awful lot of decks, it can be difficult to use. The great thing about Guribashi Berserker is if you pair this with your own hero power, if you Fire Blast Guribashi Berserker when it comes out, then immediately you've got a 5/6 creature for 7 mana, which is great. That's absolutely fantastic. It doesn't work in an awful lot of decks, and it doesn't always work in a mage deck, but it can work. If you get it right, if you time it right, it's fantastic. Pair that with a Shattered Sun Cleric, and it can win the game. Pair it with Shattered Sun Cleric and Stormwind Champion, and it's almost certainly going to win you the game. So yeah, Guribashi Berserker takes a bit of getting used to, takes a bit of practice to use properly, but use it in the right place and it'll win you the game. Archmage. Now, spell damage is just about everything to a mage. If there's one piece of advice I can give you for experimenting with this deck, it is get more spell damage in here, because it will synergize with just about every single thing you have in here. Frostbolt, Arcane Missiles, your own hero power, Fireball, you name it, just about every single thing that the mage has, spell damage will synergize perfectly with it. Especially Flamestrike. Flamestrike also is one of the best cards in the game. Don't ever use this unless you're going to take out at least 2 minions. If you're using it for, just to take out 1 minion, then it's an absolute waste. Don't do that. Pardon me. Yeah, so that's that. So Stormwind Champion is, the I guess the kind of heaviest basic creature outside of the Berserker they've got in here. I'm just kind of going through my notes here for this deck. Let me see. Yeah, Archmage. You'll see a lot of people saying to drop this out of the deck to bring in something else. Don't listen to them. Keep it in there. You want as much spell damage, maybe not as much spell damage, but you also want you always want a good amount of spell damage in a mage deck, because every little helps, to coin a phrase. Yeah, Stormwind Champion, if you wanted, I mean that is a bit heavy. You could drop that out in favour of a Boulderfist Ogre, if you wanted something a wee bit earlier in the game, because you're going to be waiting till turn 7, turn 8 to get that out. So yeah, I can see the point. Maybe drop that out and replace it with something a bit lighter. But yeah, apart from that, there's not really an awful lot I can say about this deck. Cards that I would suggest to add in, if you can get hold of them. Let me see if I've actually got them. They are, I'm not sure if I've got them. Ancient Mage, yep, that's a great one. Again, you get more spell damage. Again, the interesting thing with the Ancient Mage is that it doesn't actually have spell damage on itself, it gives it to adjacent minions. The good thing also is it's a battle cry, so even if it dies quite quickly, which it probably won't, given it's a strength, it's a toughness 5 minion, that spell damage on those other creatures is going to stick around. And I think I've got, maybe I don't, do I have Azure Drake? Where? No, maybe I don't. Let's see. I probably don't actually. No. There's a card, Azure Drake, which is a fantastic card. Again, it gives you more spell damage. It gives you spell damage and card draw off the top of my head. I think it's 5 mana off the top of my head. It's fantastic. Use it. Saying that, let's see if we can find it in here actually. Yeah, there we go. 5 mana for a 4/4 creature with spell damage and draw. So that's only a rare, so I could actually make that. Yeah, I could make one of those. I could make a lot of those. Yeah, so this is a really good card. So if you were going to add, I mean that's not expensive to craft. That's fairly easy. You can make that without too much fuss. Azure Drake, Ancient Mage, those are 2 solid cards that you can get in there without too much fuss. But yeah, I think that's us. As I say, 30 card deck, starter mage. So yeah, as with all of the other decks, give it a shot, take it out, use it, experiment with it, find what works for you, find what doesn't, swap cards in and out, do it at random if you want, I don't care. Tell us what you like, tell us how it worked for you, give some comments, give some feedback down below, give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, and just let us know how you got on with the decks. We really want to know if these guides are helping you guys out. So yeah, as I say, like as if you liked, ignore as if you didn't, subscribe as if you're feeling generous, and until next time, we shall see you then. Thanks for watching.